Spotlight this week is Altered Beast, came out in June of 1988 worldwide because Sega is good like that. At least they were back in the day. They didn't have, or they didn't always have, I should say, different release dates for Japan and North America. And this is an example of that. I played it this week. I was not a Sega household, as is evident by the fact that I have a Nintendo podcast. So this was one I don't have any nostalgia for. One thing I think I didn't realize until like a few years ago with Sega is just how ahead of Nintendo they were in a lot of ways. Like the fact that the Genesis, because to me, the Genesis didn't exist until the version that came with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I don't know why. I don't know what it was about their marketing, but I had never even heard of Sega Genesis until the Super Nintendo was already out, I feel like. Or maybe the same year as the Super Nintendo. But this came out in 1988. They had like a 3-year head start. I don't know why it took that long to catch on. But yeah, anyway, I played it this week and it's all right. What do you think of it?
I I think you have an idea why. We don't know, but I think we have an idea of why in 1988 it might not have the same impact or effect as the NES initially. And I think it's because this is an example of a pack-in game of
Yeah.
like just showing like an overall lack of focus and just not knowing exactly how to perhaps market to the and hard to imagine back then because you all you had really was like Nintendo that was dictating what the future of gaming was going to be. And
Yeah.
Nintendo struck gold with games like Mario, but even like in the beginning, Nintendo was trying to figure out which IP they were going with. And clearly, when they figured out Mario, that's who they stuck with. Because who was that other male character protagonist we had recently? Um, we played a NSL game on here recently that had another like not Mario but different male Nintendo character. So I think I think when the Genesis came out, at least in America, um, it had a lack of focus, and then Sonic made the Sega what we know it for now. But I guess going back, that it wasn't the case.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny what you said about Nintendo appealing to the masses is the way I think of it is I feel like I feel like Sega was marketing to arcade people and like people who hung out in arcades playing those games, whereas Nintendo was marketing to kids, just umbrella kids. Like all kids should play this system versus like Sega had a lot of like arcade uh releases on the Sega Genesis, and this was one of them. And it seemed like that was their focus, like people who were serious about those kind of games, whereas Nintendo was like, can anyone pick this up and play it?
and that has remained true for Nintendo forever. With
Hmm.
every N64, I guess so. But I would say with every system that has remained true and even has gotten, perhaps this is just an internet thing, but it's even gotten a reputation of being like a non-gamer system. Like it's what non-gamers play. Like the non-gamers play the Wii, it's like just things like that.
I almost feel like they don't even see themselves as part of the video game industry at times. I feel like they consider themselves their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, I've definitely said that on the podcast before, where it feels like they look at what Sony's doing, they look at what Xbox is doing, and they're like, that's great for them. We're going to do our own thing over here.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's see themselves as more of a tech industry or entertainment industry or just probably just like their own thing where they say we're gonna make games that are good for everyone. Um,
Hmm.
and that's how we we are successful. We're successful through our IPs, through our software sales. But that's
Yeah,
not what we're
like,
talking
just
about.
look yeah, just look at this game here. The influences here for this game were Harryhausen films and the Thriller music video, which I guess Thriller was super popular at the time, but Harryhausen, like even this is kind of a niche thing for a pack-in game to have like a game with zombies coming out of the ground and, you know, ghosts and I don't know, kind of the type of thing that you wouldn't be seeing on the competition because they're playing it more safe. So it's just such an I know they had Alex Kidd they were trying to make like a mascot at the time and a few others. It's interesting that this was a pack-in.
The Thriller, I mean, was huge. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get it, but the influence is that he's a werewolf. That's it.
Yeah.
Like because
Well, you get the zombies. I will say the zombies that come out of the ground look like the ones from the Thriller video, even though all zombies kind of look the same. But I don't know. I feel like there's something about the color palette too. I can see the Thriller influence.
there's no dancing. The music is
There is
not
no
good.
dancing.
So it just it's very loosely based, but I get it because like I mean that was a revolutionary. That's one of the biggest music videos of all time. So like the influence is interesting. I think I
I
wrote
could
that
totally
there's
see Vincent Price narrating this game like he does in the Thriller video. That's
uh,
him, right? I don't know.
yeah, I'll mention that because like I already mentioned that the sound is pretty unforgettable and pretty bad. The voice, the voice effects or the voice acting in this are iconic, I guess. Because I remember seeing like the memes of it back in the day, but
Mhm.
like it's really like the quality of it is like really, really bad. But I do remember the Welcome to Your Doom long time ago. I do remember some of that. And this is also something where I would just say that, you have to say that it's fine for a launch title, but for me, I don't think it's really that great. It's a beat 'em up. I think the controls are not that great as far as like the input goes. Um, beat 'em ups might be um the biggest genre we have on NSO. So this would be, I think, for me in the category of do you want the history of this system? Because I think this game is just very, very uneven. I don't think there's really anything there. I know there have been sequels and plans on bringing this franchise back, but there's really nothing there for me. Did you feel any different about controls, gameplay, just overall feel of this game?
The controls, I felt like, I don't know if it's the hitbox or what, but, like, I felt like you were very stuck inside a rectangle, you know what I mean? Like, your punches and kicks didn't seem to extend as far as they do in other beat 'em ups, and you had to get very close to enemies to damage them, and I feel like a good beat 'em up game, especially since it's a genre I don't play a lot, is like look at Turtles in Time. I think that's like the gold standard, or like the Simpsons arcade game was another good one where like you all the characters have like these range attacks where you really don't have to be to nose with the character to hit them. Um, and that was something that I always like noticed in games like these where they were like there's 2 types of beat 'em ups. There's ones that are like that and ones that are like this. So, yeah, the controls a little wonky.
So that's it from me. I mean, that's what my recommendation would be. If it's a history that you want, or you just really, really like beat 'em ups and you're just running out of beat 'em ups on NSO. This game is 105 for me, which I'm hesitant to say that it's a bad game because again, I can put it in the category, the idea that it is a pack-in game that came out in 1988, and graphically, it does look okay for 1988, but I think, again, it's very to me, it's very uneven with graphics for the backgrounds and the assets and the characters. It's uneven with the gameplay, just uneven overall is the word that I would go with. Where did you rank it?
Mhm. Well, before I rank it, there's also a, Game Boy Advance installment in the series, so we always talk about, like, games we'd like to see on the service. Why not have the Game Boy Advance version on there? That's definitely the part of the service with, like, the least games right now, so it could
Yeah.
use whatever it could get.
Oh,
Um,
and this game is also available on every system. That's the last thing I'll say.
yep. Yeah, the Sega Classics collection and then, like, on virtual console shops and stuff. Yeah, it's widely available. As far as ranking, I actually forgot to rank it, so I'm gonna do this live here. Let's see. I think it belongs somewhere around here. I would rather play Kid Icarus. Okay. Would I rather play it's in the Golden Axe territory, and I definitely would rather play Golden Axe than this. So I'm gonna put it at number 97, which puts it right below Golden Axe 2, and
Can't
it's
deal with
right
it.
above Sword of Vermilion.